Everyone, Firefly Anime here, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different sort of video. So I was talking recently to my good friend here on YouTube named Phil, and his channel is Daybreak748, so I will leave a link down below. But he was talking about how he was working on his yearly top anime figures for 2015 video, and I know he did make one for last year that was really good as well. But he was talking about how he's working on his, and he suggested that I should put together a list myself and make a video. So after much thought and deliberation, I was able to narrow down a list of my top 10 figures of the year. And for sake of argument, to make it simpler on myself, even though I did get quite a few older figures that were essentially my holy grails, I decided to only include figures that were actually released in 2015 in this list. Just because there were so many awesome figures that I got last year, it was really hard enough for me to make a list as it was. And I am a little bit biased in this list, I admit. There's a lot of nostalgia reasons that I chose the figures that I did. They aren't exactly the fanciest or over-the-top figures, but they were figures that were really awesome to have, in my opinion, and were great quality as well. So without further ado, we will take a look at the list and jump right into it. Starting off at number 10 is actually a set of figures since 3 of the 5 girls came out last year, and they are the Freeing 1/8 scale Yukata line from the series Pola Magi Madoka Magica. Now, Mami, Kyoko, and Sayaka all came out in 2015, hence why I'm including them together in this spot. Even though Mami is my favorite, I can't really think of them as separate figures themselves, so that's why I'm including them all together in one spot. The Freeing Yukata line is a very simply designed figure line, but visually pleasing nonetheless. And as anybody who watches my channel knows, I am a sucker for yukata and kimono type figures. And I really can't think of these girls separately. They look great all together as a set. Each girl's yukata has a unique color scheme and design that's special to the character, and they are simply posed and come with fun accessories that make each character stand out as well, and it is a really great line. At number 9 is the Figma version of Motoko Kusanagi, or the Major, from the series Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. I was really excited when this figure came out since the Standalone Complex series is well over 10 years old, and there haven't been any recent figures from the series. Any older ones were really pricey or a little bit difficult to get, so I was really excited to see that Max Factory was releasing a Figma version of one of the main characters, especially my favorite character. And I have to say, they did a great job in replicating her likeness in this small-scale sort of figure. All the attention to detail was very much on point, from the shine of the leather jacket to the matte color of her clothing, and the joints added numerous fun pose opportunities for this figure without compromising too much from the aesthetics of it, and overall it is a very, very fun Figma and a really great release for the series. For number 8 is a bit of an underrated figure, I think, and that is the Kotobukiya Hamona Akemi Miku version 1/8 scale, and of course she is from the series Pola Magi Madoka Magica. And she bargain binned pretty hardcore, and I'm not sure why, because she has such a great amount of detail to this figure. She is in a simple kneeling pose, and her Shrine Maiden outfit and everything about her coordinates well with her character, so there is a prominent purple theme throughout the design of it, as well as the soul gem details on her sleeves, which are a really nice touch. And she even comes with that fun little Cubase stamp that she's holding. And the hair was beautifully sculpted as well. Very, very adorable figure in my opinion. And most importantly, it is a smiling Homura, which admittedly we do not get enough of. For number 7 is a figure I like a lot more than I thought I would, and that is the Megahouse World Uniform Operation 1/10 scale figure of Usagi Tsukino from the series Sailor Moon. Despite being such a small scale, Megahouse did not skimp on the detail in this figure. It is very great for what it is, especially the paint sculpt and the pose of the figure. I think why I like this figure as much as I do is because we often don't get figures, or proper scale figures, of magical girls in their school uniforms. If we do get a magical girl in her school uniform, it's often in the form of game prize figures, trading figures, or just chibi figures in general. So this really adds something different for the Sailor Moon collectors out there, especially since I enjoy seeing the girls of Sailor Moon in their school uniforms as well. So I will definitely be picking up the rest of this line at some point. Coming up at number 6 is actually a prize figure, and that is the Queen of Hearts version of Supersonic Coach made by Furyu in their Fairy Tail series of figures of her. The rest of the Fairy Tail line of Sonico figures looks great as well, but I have to say I think this was the first in the release, but this was definitely one of the most popular prize figures of the year in the figure collecting community, I noticed, and it's easy to understand why. The overall quality of prize figures that Furyu makes is top-notch, and this figure is no exception. She really doesn't have much in the way of flaws, and everything from the outfit to the pose of this figure is absolutely irresistible. Gotta love Sonico and her little corset-styled outfit, and the Alice in Wonderland motif definitely suits her very well. Number 5 is actually another set of figures, but they are essentially one and the same, and that is the Nendoroid and Figma version of Snow Miku 2015 Snowbell version. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a big fan of the Snow Miku line of figures, and this year's line was especially captivating. There's a sort of woodland fairy look to her costume, and the details of the costume on both Nendoroid and Figma form are very intricate for such a small scale. Both figures come with various fun accessories for a lot of interesting poses, and although they are essentially the same figure, the Nendoroid and Figma do have some differences unique to themselves as well, which makes it very worth collecting both. I do feel the Figma versions of Snow Mikus tend to be a little bit underrated, but I have to say last year's Figma Snow Miku is definitely one of my favorites, and I think the Snow Miku Figma is my favorite Figma in my collection so far. My number 4 spot goes to another figure line I'm a little bit biased towards, and that is the Good Smile Company Racing Miku line. And they are 1/8 scale figures, and this is for the 2014 version, which was, of course, released in 2015. And this is another exemplary Racing Miku design in this line that I really enjoyed very much. She has a sort of futuristic, kind of machine-inspired aesthetic about her, especially with the equipment attached to her. The base definitely adds to the look as well. And I really enjoy the way that they designed her face and eyes especially. I think this figure showcased a more mature and sexy look to Miku, which we don't often see. And at my number 3 spot, I am once again cheating by having 2 figures in the set, but they're both from the same series and same company, and they are the 1/7 scale figures released by Kotobukiya from the series Cardcaptor Sakura of Shaoran Lee and Sakura Kinomoto. I was really excited to see that there was so much merch coming out over the past few years from Cardcaptor Sakura, as it is a bit of an older series, and doubly more excited to see that Kotobukiya was making proper scale figures of the main characters. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that they were making a scale figure of Shaoran, since there aren't many male figures being made out there, but that is slowly changing over the times, I notice. And this figure of him has a very dynamic and kick-ass looking pose, and the base is especially intricate in detail. Kotobukiya designed these figures with the manga artwork in mind, which I know isn't done very often in terms of anime figures, so that was another pleasant surprise. And overall, it was a really great figure that definitely captured the likeness of him, plus to get a scale figure of male character from the series was absolutely amazing to me. Now on to Sakura. Once again, she was sculpted with the manga artwork in mind, so it is very true to the original Clamp artwork that they have done in this character design. And I cannot say enough how much of a wonderful job Kotobukiya did in replicating her outfit and her design. Everything was absolutely flawless with the amount of detail, and just the wings and everything about this figure is so beautiful. And once again, after all these years, it is absolutely amazing to get a modern scale figure of a character from an older series, and I love these two together especially. And you guys know it wouldn't be a proper countdown unless I included another Supersonic Coach on the list, and that is the 1/6 scale figure of Supersonic Coach Here Girl Sun-Kissed version made by Orchid Seed. Now this figure is technically a re-release of an older figure, but made in a different color scheme, and obviously she has a tan to her. Orchid Seed really makes some top-notch big scale figures, and I was reminded of that when I picked this figure up. Everything about her was just absolutely beautifully done. The tan to the figure was nicely shaded, and I really like the redesign of the cheerleader outfit that she had with the different color scheme to go along with the tan. The pose of the figure is a lot of fun as well, and this figure definitely does what it is intended to do and cheers you on as you go about your day. Definitely this or the original release is a must-have for any Sonico fan in my opinion. And finally here we are at number 1, and although I did have a hard time deciding with this list, I did not have a hard time deciding my number 1 at all whatsoever. And once again, that is the Alter 1/8 scale of Natsume Renewal version from the series Natsume's Book of Friends. And once again, this was a figure that is technically a re-release but a little bit touched up upon. Alter is one of those companies that just does such an amazing job with their figures, and I was really reminded of that when I got this figure. And it is by no means my most expensive figure, but it is definitely my favorite in my collection of the year, period, just my absolute favorite of all time, I think. Everything about it I just absolutely adore, from the beautiful box design to the beautiful backdrop that they included that you could pose with the figure. There's such a serene look about this figure, and it really stands out amongst all my other figures in my collection. Everything from the unique pose to the unique base, the paint job, everything is absolutely flawless with this figure. And I think if for some reason I had to sacrifice my figures to the gods to save the world, but I could only keep one, this would be the one figure that I keep in my collection just because I really do love it that much. That was my top anime figures of 2015 list. If you would like to, go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know what your favorite figure or figures of last year were, or if you would like, you can go ahead and make a video yourself. So that is it for now. Until next time, thanks for watching. So apparently I was taking too long in making this video, and Queen Luna is agitated that I am not paying any attention to her. So sorry, Luna. That's a very attractive face, Luna.